Welcome to Flesh and Pod, a flesh and blood podcast, breaking down weekly news and notes from the tournament scene, community drama, game strategy, and more. And now, here are your hosts, Darick and Logan.
Hello, and welcome to episode 173 of Flesh and Pod. My name's Logan. I'm your host. I'm back from vacation. I should have stayed in Arizona. That's, mistakes were made, I guess. Turns out when you're old and busted like I am, and you go from a place where the pressure's pretty constant, they call rain what we call sprinkles, and everything every day you wake up and it feels like paradise. And then you come back to a place where the temperature shifts 40 degrees in a day routinely. And it can go from 60 mile an hour winds to sunny to snow in a 10-hour period, or less. It's like dominoes. Then, it sucks. But I would not miss talking about Flesh and Blood with you all for the world, apparently, because here I am. And with me, as always, Truth Seeker, Darick Oswald. Darick, tell me, baby, did you go to an armory? Did you do the thing?
All right, you're going to be so proud of me.
Am I, though?
I did not. I kept the bit going.
Yes!
I kept the
Greg,
bit going.
I fucking knew it, Greg. I fucking knew it, Greg.
Also, my chair is slowly sinking, so you're going to see me pick this. That's
even better.
Throughout everything. Again, the pressure, like it's even messing with the pneumatic part of my chair. Anyway, again, I wish I could say it was a different thing, but Joe and I were again supposed to record on Tuesday. Unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances, because he is still also a new dad and whatever, we didn't do that. In fact, because of 2 weeks in a row where we have missed it, we're actually now aiming to start recording on Fridays, which is good news, because even that means if even something does come up or whatever, though, it won't, it'll come up after Wednesday. So my hope is that for next week, even if we run into an issue with scheduling, it won't matter. So the only way that I can mess it up now is if he's like, hey, can we record early this week? I have something going. So
that's walking dreadfully close to my Kool-Aid, though.
I mean, sure. Yes, I hear you. But this was the next possible option where we were looking at how do we try to work around locals. Because I will say a lot of the juggling stuff is really just Doa trying to accommodate me, because for the longest time we've been doing it on Wednesdays.
And you'd like to go to your armory.
Yeah, right. So he's full shout out to him. He's trying to make it so that I can go, and I love Eric and I appreciate him for jumping through set hoops to make it happen. But yeah, this week was still a no-go, but next week the goal is we're going to record on Friday instead, which means one way or the other I should be free on Wednesday.
Okay, well, I hope it works out for you.
I'll say that, Greg, tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern, just message me and say hey, have you sleeved up your armory deck yet? And then I will be able to give you an answer, because I'll need to do that before.
That's fair.
It does also help. The kids are on spring break this week as well.
Oh, sure.
So.
So, I actually did stuff in Flesh and Blood. I went to Armory on Saturday, which was Oops All Iras, which the entire event was Ira welcome decks. That's it. I brought a 2018 Ira deck so that mine had comic art head jabs and textless brutal assaults and the gold foil bordered Edge of Autumn, because might as well be slick about it too. And I went EXO, so it's the power of the 2018 Ira deck, shuffled without sleeves in full effect. That won me that one, I'm pretty sure. And then on Sunday, actually, I didn't play in it, but I ran the LL skirmish at our locals, and it was good. Yeah, I mean, Starvo won. I don't know what else to say, but I believe the top 8 was a Dromai, a Starvo, or the top 4 was a Dromai, a Starvo, a Kano, and a Viscerai. So,
Interesting.
Yeah, weird, which is what you would expect. Weird. But there was a ton that went on in Flesh and Blood this week. It was a busy fucking week. My God. They could save
we
some
had
of this.
our highly, in my opinion, anyway, my highly anticipated event, which I say we had as if I participated, but the one that I was really excited for the coverage for, which was the Brazilian
calling Sao Paulo. Yeah, and we have we've gassed up South America quite a bit on this show, and it was not a disappointment. There were some incredible matches of Flesh and Blood played. You should go back and watch the coverage. It was really well done. So it's won by Carlos Eduardo Amaral da Silva on Aurora. And when he won, he's a Brazilian player. And when he won, the Brazilian community just leapt into frame. And it was awesome to see. The top 8 of that one was 1 Dorinthia. We'll get to that here in a second. Yep. 3 Aurora, 2 Enigma, a Florian, and a New. Now let's get to let's cut to the portion here that I know a lot of people are probably wondering if we would talk on, and because I will all the time. And 1, Charmer did say that there would be a Dawnblade Dorinthia in the top 8, and there is.
To the supercut we go. When I saw that, dude, I was like, oh, I can't believe it. I've been saying for a bit, Enigma's still potentially scary, and then we had 2 Enigmas, and I was like, hey, I think Florian's a real deck, and we had a Florian. Everything about this, I was just like, oh man.
Get to the supercut. And so if you go and watch the quarterfinal match that was on stream between Dorinthia and Aurora, it was
close.
It's a very close match. There's a lot of back and forth. There were some very weird instances in that match, and I'm going to kind of recount the best I can. I did watch it, so I think that I will remember this correctly from the stream. So first of all, the Dorinthia player had a line to winning, and it involved playing a Blade Flurry, and then getting priority and playing a second one. So what happened was the Dorinthia player played the Blade Flurry, and then the Aurora player, Carlos, passed on defense reactions, and the Dorinthia player ticked up the dice to represent the change in attack value. That would signify that the Blade Flurry has resolved, and the stack is now empty, and both players have passed on an empty stack, which would end all windows for reactions. Now, that's the thing, and then the Dorinthia played the second Blade Flurry, and a judge stepped in and said, no, you have passed reactions on an empty stack. Chat blew up saying, guy got, Dorinthia got jobbed. Now, Dorinthia was the rooting interest of virtually all the chat already.
Sure.
So there was definitely some bias in this too, in chat, but the reality of the situation is, for anybody that was watching that and thinks it was a missed call or that it was done incorrectly, no, it was done absolutely correctly. That one was very much so a good pick off, by the judge, and was adjudicated correctly. In my mind, at least. I mean, if you want to play within the rules, play within the rules. There was another instance that was a little bit weirder in my mind, and I feel like it was mostly done right, but I think that there needs to, I would have conversations around this. What happened was, the Dawnblade for 4 coming in, right? And opponent has avenues here. They have 2 cards to block with, plus a Sigil of Suffering. Opponent is at 1 with 1 card in hand. And so, and this is, I believe, the second Dawnblade swing in the turn. The first Dawnblade swing had hit. So the opponent is at 2. So the opponent has the option of either blocking with 2 cards and then seeing if his opponent reacts and then sigilling, or to sigil and try to hold cards. Okay. So opponent decides to sigil and attempt to hold cards. The Dory player not wanting to die. AB is the 1. Blocking 3 on 4. And then they don't change the life totals. The 4 block stays a 4 block. You know, they treat it like a 4 block. Well, if the life totals would have been adjusted, the Dawnblade should have had another counter. And so they came in and they said that was blocking 3 on 4. Like after the turn had passed, like that was blocking 3 on 4. So 1 would have gone over. You should be at 1, but they didn't put the counter back on the they didn't allow the counter on the Dawnblade. So
right.
My thought on that is they should, because we are rewinding the game state to correct life totals because of the information being, you know, miscommunicated.
Yeah, it's a partial effect resolution. We rewind for one thing, but not for everything in
right.
that instance, which...
Yep. And so that was one where I was like, I think that was a little bit off. Now, policy wise, that might have been right. But as far as the way I looked at it, I'm like, okay. And then a lot of people, the other thing that people had up in arms was Carlos attacked with a second strike for 3 with a Rune Chant behind it. Rune Chant was AB'd. Obviously, you're at 1. But then I believe that they did not put they've been using it the entire game, and they didn't put the power dice out there representing the value of the attack. And the Dorinthia player assumed it was for 4 when it's not, it's for 3, and blocked with 2 cards instead of just a single card block that wouldn't have, I mean, like blocking
right.
with the 2 cards did nothing. And from there, proceeded to lose the game. So there was a lot of things in that end sequence that caught a lot of people's attention on that one. Now everybody listening, until you've played 13 rounds or whatever it is of high level Flesh and Blood with decks that require a lot of thought over the course of 2 days, and play absolutely perfect when you have a crowd around you watching, knowing that you're on camera to X number of people as well. No, you don't get to cast aspersions. Like, sorry. It's very difficult. And I don't think, nothing I saw seemed malicious. It just seemed like fatigue. Like you mentally just kind of are all, not 100% there. You make small mistakes, you miss small things. Like it happens.
So I will say this, like of the ones, the only one that like raised my eyebrows. Again, I'm not going to say that it's wrong, because I am not a high level judge who is covering big events, but the very first one that you were talking about regarding the attack reactions part, I understand that there was a like it could be looked at that somebody has passed the opportunity to play more attack reactions, but when I was watching it, thought that they were just letting that one resolve, which is something that, at least in my experience, is something that like both players can have happen without the actual reaction step skipping because of the way Uzuri works, right? So when I play Uzuri, and for those who don't know, right, like there are 2 instances where you can respond to Uzuri's hero ability. So the first is like if I have a card with stealth, I activate Uzuri and I put a card face down. Before that card is flipped face up, right, you can react to it. But then when it like pseudo resolves, it also flips over, and then there's a second window where you could react, like still put defense reactions. Now, the reason they give you that window of opportunity in between is in part for effects like when you're swapping in a CNC, which then prevents you from putting further D-reacts on, but it's also there are two like resolution stages. And so in my mind, I thought that it was somebody just allowing that, because I also know, like, if you have multiple reactions, you can let some of them resolve, but my understanding is because this was also the only one, once you let that one resolve, it just ends it, right? So again, I'm not saying that what they said was wrong. I'm just saying, like, initially it raised my eyebrows. And so I can totally, what I'm trying to get to is I can totally see where even without fatigue, that's the sort of thing where, depending on what you're used to and your play pattern or whatever, it would be a very easy thing to miss.
Yeah, and I do think that in a Swiss round with no judge watching, it probably just isn't called, right? Like, it's probably like, oh, yep, you have a second reaction window. The moving of the dice wouldn't have signified anything to the opponent necessarily, unless they're being very, in the moment about it. But it didn't. It looked like, I mean, that it was just going to go up to 10, and then play was stopped and it was adjusted. And Uzuri's ability, if I remember correctly, it was specifically the way the hero power is is set so that it gives you two windows, because of how fucked up it would be if you didn't. No,
yeah, absolutely. And I'm just saying that, again, I don't know what the history of the Dawnblade player is, right? If it's somebody who has played a bunch of different attack reaction oriented heroes, because both warrior and assassin kind of feature that as part of their class package. If it's somebody who started with assassin and then wound up on Doria or whatever, it's just, again, it's one of those things where, it could be round 2 of the day and I could see a situation where somebody would make that mistake, right? Like, ultimately that's what I was trying to convey, is that this is, that alone was already like a very easy mistake to make, on top of, any of the other potential opportunities that went through. It was still fun, like, to watch. Oh no,
it was amazing. I loved watching, and I also loved watching the finals, which was Aurora Enigma. That was close, like super close.
Way closer than I would say a lot of people probably expect, because again, the narrative has been that Enigma just gets like blown out by Auroras, and I've been, saying for a bit, I'm not saying that Aurora isn't favored. I'm just saying I think that matchup, when it's like players of equal skill, is probably closer than what people would expect it to be, and I think this event kind of showed that, because again, even with the Auroras on top, like it was not the blowout that I think some folks would have anticipated.
Right. Yep. And so shout out to the Brazilian community, though. What an event. The excitement was awesome, and I can't wait to see more. There was also a battle hardened there too that was won by, and I'm going to butcher this name and I apologize, but Joao Foltron, I believe is it, but that's probably just me being American and shit at pronunciation, on Jarl, because Jarl. And the top 8 of that one was Jarl, 2 Aurora, 1 Enigma, 1 Dorinthia. God, fuck you. I hate when you're right. 1 Dash IO, 1 New, and 1 Vincent. So a little bit more of a spread in that one. No Florians, but again, we're starting to see a little bit of a kind of a bouncy level again with the metagame. So London's getting more and more interesting. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
I guess the next thing we really have is the ProQuest Plus on Sunday of Battle Hard Milwaukee. So, because the team event, you don't get a whole lot out of it because, it's a team event. But I think it's very interesting that the ProQuest Plus will tell us a lot too. But then there was another Classic Constructed Battle Hardened this weekend in Eindhoven, won by Christian Wiebling. on Fang.
Yeah.
You know, a warrior won something. The top eight.
I mean, I knew it was, here's how I know it was a great weekend just overall for Warrior. I saw Josh Lau posting positively.
Right. Yep. Yep. That will do it.
I was just like, oh yeah, you know, it's been a good weekend.
Yeah. When Josh is just dusting off the social media accounts to start commenting. Yeah. You know, it's a thing. This top 8 was 2 Victor, the Fang, 2 Florian, 1 Zen, 1 Enigma, 1 Dash.io. Yet another event that happened across the pond with no Auroras in the top 8. But the Fang Florian final, just go watch it. And I will freely, and I think the Fang player, I think would also admit that they ran just a little hot at the beginning because they hit 3 fealty, I think, on turn 2. And from there, it was just foot directly on gas and or throat the entire time.
Yeah. I mean, you're basically saying, like, as long as I can keep this, I go into every turn with a 2 resource advantage, which is pretty good when you're trying to play the numbers game.
Mm-hmm. And it was quite impressive to watch. And I don't know. I like Fang a lot. I thoroughly enjoy the deck. I might play it in Milwaukee. I've been kind of taking that list and tossing it around a bit. I played 2 matches with it tonight before I had to start working on notes and stuff like that for this. And the first one, I mean, I got notes on it right here. What did I fuck up in the first one? I got blown up by Vaporized Shock. Yeah. Lost all my fealty.
Why would you do that?
Yeah, I think, I don't know. I was in my bag, so I'm like doing some damage calculations, and I'm like, okay, I think I'm safe. I need to be at 2 at the end of this turn. And I was counting like what damage sources, me having pretty good knowledge of the Aurora deck, would be problematic. And I'm like, okay, so if I'm gonna go into the end to the turn with 3 fealty, an Oath of Loyalty in Arsenal, and then play Oath of Loyalty, attack, hunt the killer, whatever it's called, the plus a billion one, and then plus 6, I think. And then or plus 5, one of the 2. And then follow that up with another attack with a Fire and Brimstone to allow me to attack again with at least 1 dagger, if not 2, depending. Like, we were pod racing that turn, and it was going to eat their hand and drop them to like 4. So my next turn, I'm going to have a full grip and be able to just burn through the rest of it. And then like, yep, CLV. And I'm like, okay, a CLV trigger I can live through. I already have factored that in. And they ripped a card and they played the next thing. And I'm like, yep, a 0 for 4. It's exactly what I thought it'd be. So I feel like this will be a Starfall attack and a blue, a Starfall attack, and a, because it's an Arc Lightning turn 2. And then we'll be good to go, or, however this works out. And then they're like, Vaporized Shock. And I'm like, well, I had 3 fealty tokens, and now I have none.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm dead. Didn't expect that one. And so I died. But, results not typical on that one. The next matchup, there was no Vaporized Shocks against the next Aurora I played, and won, I would say, fairly handily. But again, I was online with fealties on turn 2. And man, that deck is so much different when it's just like, yep, I'm the most efficient deck in Flesh and Blood now. Good luck.
Yeah.
So it does make a big difference when doing that. But I think that I really liked the build that Christian had of that deck. Playing blues, I believe played 8 blues in the list, and those are pretty good. It was also fucking hilarious to see Trot Along and nip at the heels playing huge parts in fucking classic constructed games, because that shit's draft. We haven't seen Chaffee McChafferson like this in classic constructed decks since we saw Autumn's Touch get banned in Starvo, or because of Starvo. But
yeah, but Autumn's Touch is still like it's weird as far as stuff that you would consider draft chaff, just because of how important the elemental tags are. Autumn's Touch is almost like iconic in how important it is.
Oh yeah,
for just saying the word earth on it with a blue block 3.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
Just
that's all the text it needs, babe.
Not even just Starvo, right? Because like even Oldhim, you know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's 100% right. It's, I mean, cannot argue. Well, it turns out that security may be looser at LSS than the national security of the United States, and they're blasting bombing plans on Signal to journalists. I've not seen any
Signal leaks from LSS, so how dare you?
I can't. Okay. But there was a leak that happened, and credit to LSS for just saying, yep, fuck it. We're not going to try to put the toothpaste back in the tube. We're just going to roll with it. And so we wound up with a bunch of high seas information this past week.
Yeah, I don't think the LSS, I just want to say, like, yes, credit to them, but I also feel like it's still really shitty.
Super
and
shitty.
Not because of them, right? I just want to say this very clearly for the people who don't understand, like, the issue with leaks and stuff like this. Like, yes, kudos to LSS for not trying to put the toothpaste back in to the tube, but I mean, what are you going to do? The internet is forever, as they say, right? So like once it's out there anyway. You kind of force their hand, but it's super annoying for not just the company, but for a lot of the community as well, because they like to trickle out their releases. Mm-hmm. And yes, that is protecting their marketing plan, but it's also protecting more than that as well, when you factor in that they traditionally, for the past couple of sets now, have wanted to ensure that your world premiere experience is still chock full of things that like people haven't seen yet. Right. Like they want that sense of wonder when you're at the event and opening things up. And so they've been a little bit,
lighter.
Tighter. Yeah. On some of that, which is fair and great. And I like that experience and whatever. And so I hate it for that. I hate it because content creators get spoilers. And so, again, if some of these things were already kind of primed for reveal, it's not a huge deal because that means they were not likely going to be given to a content creator. But also the thing with any business is until it happens, it's not set in stone sort of thing. So like plans could have changed or whatever. And that maybe they were in the middle of trying to change something. And that's why, XYZ. So what I'm trying to say is like, yes, kudos to LSS, but also like fuck leaks, man.
No, yeah, 100%. I hate leaks. I didn't really understand the impacts of them when I was much younger. But as time went on and as content broadened, I guess would be the best way to put it, it became way more evident, how harmful they can be. And these are things that probably would have been talked about, outside of your normal spoiler cycle, right? Because these are the promo package stuff for the calling and the world premiere and stuff like that. So this information would have been disseminated earlier anyway, I think. I mean, don't know. But it would have been brought up at like, Pro Tour London or, as part of the keynote or something. And so that takes away from people who are going to be in London that got to see it, would be able to get to see it for the first time, because now that experience is gone. If that was the case,
Right.
And as somebody who is going to London and is going to be at the keynote, that kind of sucks. Like, 'cause I don't know, if they have something else lined up, or if this was going to be what was presented, who knows? But since it has been made official, and our policy at Flesh and Pod is to only talk about officially previewed cards, we're going to talk about them. Fuck it. Right. So we have 3 heroes spoiled. We're finally getting our Necromancer. Then they named the Necromancer Gravy Bones. Now, there's been a lot about this name out there. A lot of really polarized takes, if you will.
There are correct takes and really bad takes and no in between.
Okay.
There's the objectively correct take, and then there is the "you're so wrong, I'm ashamed of you" take.
Wow. Okay. So my thought process on this is that this is the working name for this hero, because it just rhymes with Davy Jones, which, if for pirate lore, that's a Davy Jones locker. If you're not if you've seen Pirates of the Caribbean, or gone on the ride even. And then they were just calling him Gravy Bones throughout development, and then it stuck, and we now have Gravy Bones, right? I don't know how I feel about this name. It's already, the set is very fanciful. It's less, it's a different feel. It's a different aesthetic feel to definitely the last few sets, where Heavy Hitters was pretty fucking brutal. Rosetta was a callback to Aria. The Hunted is even more brutal than Heavy Hitters. And then we have this, which seems more, swashbuckling adventure. So that vibe is already different. Gravy Bones, Shipwrecked Looter, I think fits into that, but we'll see. And I know your take is Gravy Bones is the greatest name given to a card in the history of card games, and you will not hear anybody say different.
It's so perfect. I don't know how, where to even begin with this absolute masterpiece of a fucking name.
Let's go,
Logan. Okay. So yes, Gravy Bones very clearly rhymes with Davy Jones, but it's more than that, right? Like, he's a necromancer with skeleton minions, so he's got bones in the name. Also, like, yes, it's gravy, but gravy could also mean, like, somebody that's a little bit in the grave, right? They're gravy bones. You know what else is served at Thanksgiving? Gravy. What's it served in? A boat. Like a pirate would drive, right? Like, we have a gravy boat. Like,
you're describing every reason I hate this fucking name, by the way.
But here's the problem. Here's the problem, though. What are pirates historically in fiction? They're whimsical pun names.
Pun machines.
Like,
yes.
You think like Captain Hook is a clever name for a dude with a fucking hook for a hand? You think that Blackbeard is a clever name for the dude with the beard that's black? Even other like actual real pirates like Calico Jack. Why was he called Calico? Because he wore red and white and had black hair. Like, he looked like a calico cat. Like, pirates are the most unserious genre. We're not talking about like ruining somebody's edge master like ninja or something like really, like I can get behind some of your complaints about, Max and his like punk aesthetic and vibe or whatever, but pirates are already just really unserious, man. Like, by themselves, they are not something that is super serious to begin with. And then in the context of Flesh and Blood, right? Everyone's like, oh, well, you're like making a joke out of my serious card game. Really? Your serious card game? Because some of the other names in the game have been like phenomenal. Like, the person whose entire gimmick is wagering is named Betsy, right?
No, I know.
The mechanologist with the like Achilles accelerators that makes her go fast, and her name is Dash, right? The guy who you know, is a carny is named Bravo, and then he's Showstopper and then star of the show. And then like we call it out every week. The sets are chock full of wrestling puns and other references. Like, yes, the world has its own unique lore. I'm not taking away from that. I actually really, really love the lore for this game. But what I'm trying to get at is like, this has never been a 100% like fully serious game.
Absolutely.
And so
not.
When you are going to take your kind of already punny, unserious game, and then you're going to take it to a pirate themed like setup, all I expect are puns and thirst. That's it. I expect semen jokes and salt jokes because, like, let's be honest, like whether or not we want to admit it, like we're horny hitters, we're, you know, part the thirst veil, whatever you want. Like, we're gonna have some thirst and we're gonna have some whimsy.
I thought it was part the moist veil.
Sure, whatever floats your boat. I don't know, man. I just work here. The point is, this is the best name I could hope for this. I saw it and I was like immediately sold. I'm tickled. I'm so happy that I'm going to be honest. I'm happy that we're going to be getting an ally featured hero
named
that's
Chum?
not an illusionist.
Because he's chum from the sea, but he's also the first mate, so he's his chum.
Yeah.
I mean,
his friendly first mate. He's chummy.
He's a chummy
with his first mate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but like again, everyone's so focused on Gravy Bones. Again, everything about this game has always been punny. I've seen absolutely no complaints about the Misfortune styled character, right? The Pirate Ranger, whose name is Marlin. Marlin. Mm-hmm. She's named after a fish.
Fucking fish.
Right?
Oh no. She's named after a fish, and then her cards are surrounded by the ability Go Fish.
Yes. Right? Like,
then, what do you want?
Then, not only that, but then there was just nothing but celebration I saw for our Lord and Savior Puffin, the parrot, the hero that is the parrot. Mm-hmm. You know, that is of course the working theory for everyone because, you know, again, going to be really funny if his name is Puffin and it's the bird, but also you can see that even though he's like hovering and kind of flying, he has the mechanologist's like wing. So I'm going to laugh if he can't truly fly. He can just hop real high because Puffin is a, you know, flightless bird for the most part, except for that they can kind of hop and whatever. So, yeah, like everything about this is going to be like whimsy and fun. And I guess what I'm trying to get at is like, some of you really just need to enjoy things more.
Agreed.
That's you know, I went through the phase where I was like, man, I like want some of my stuff to at least attempt to be grounded in reality. But like, I'm at the point in my life now, maybe the kids have softened me or whatever, but one, I appreciate just some whimsy in general because reality is what I'm trying to escape from when I'm playing this game. Also, like, I'm playing a game with necromancers and skeletons and angels and shapeshifters and whatever. Like, do I need to take it seriously all the time? Like, the gameplay itself is tension, like, incarnate and makes me super sweaty. I want to at least laugh at some card names and art while I'm at it, which also, let me just say, been really happy with a lot of the art I've seen so far. Gravy Bones' art is phenomenal. A lot of the ghost aesthetic I really love. I know it's just for the harpoon that goes with Marlin or whatever, but Bastian Jez, who I adore his work, has already done a brilliant job with the harpoon on the gold background thing. Like, all the art, I mean, we expect it, but all the art's outstanding that I've seen so far. And I'm really
you notice the artist on the gold token?
No.
Their first name is Stormy.
Oh, nice.
We're doing it.
Yeah. See, exactly. No, I didn't notice that one. I noticed that they gave the cog to a double C name, but I didn't look at the gold one. So Golden Cog is for from Carlos Cruchaga.
So it's Chart the High Seas.
But yeah, like, I'm just talking, like, we're playing a game where somebody has a wrench named Banksy and
Crank and bank, babe.
Gravy Bones is an S tier name.
I think that you've presented a fantastic argument for your case, and I give you full credit for that.
Also, I share this on Blue Sky. Here's what I'll close with, right? Like, on the one hand, because I saw somebody who was like, man, I'm really interested in playing this new hero, but do I really want to be telling people that, like, I'm a Gravy Bones main, right? And I was
say you're a boner, bro.
No, so, like, listen, no, I was trying to fully be empathetic to the other side of the argument before I landed on how incorrect they were. So I was like, okay, let's just imagine, like, I have to say I'm a Gravy Bones main or whatever. Like, I could shorten it to Bones. Bones is fine, right? I could say, main. Like, I could say things like,
I'm a Gravy main.
When
I love Gravy.
Listen, if I'm playing in Blitz, of course we got to make the young Gravy jokes.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
That's just there. So, like, it's not as bad as I initially thought. But then I shared this on Blue Sky. I was thinking, I think the only thing that pisses me off about this hero is that I will go through the rest of my life knowing that I could have had a cool name like Gravy Bones, and instead I'm stuck with Darick. Like, imagine you're sitting at a bar, right? Like, you're the guy who's dressed like Aragorn. You're in, like, the corner of a bar. It's a little bit shadowy. Your friend is up ordering drinks, and somebody walks in and they look over in the corner. They're like, hey, man, what's up with the dude in the corner? And now imagine that your friend says, like, oh, that's Logan. Logan's a cool name. I love your name.
I like
right?
my name.
Yeah. Not bad. But now imagine your friend's like, that's Gravy Bones. Doesn't matter what happens next. It's going to be fucking funny, right?
It's going to be great.
It's either going to be like, holy shit, did you just say Gravy Bones? Or, like, there's mystique there. There's whatever. Like, Gravy Bones is a great name. I will die on this hill. I will die on this ship. I will go down with the ship. That Gravy Bones is a great name.
Fair. No notes. I don't argue. Let's get to the actual cards, what they do. So Gravy Bones, they're all 440 heroes. We do have a tap symbol, or what appears to be a tap symbol now in...
Could be exhaust.
Sure. However,
a lot of games use that terminology just so that...
to avoid getting sued.
Well, yeah, but it's a nice thing to, I think, communicate to players while also, not getting sued that you've done your one thing, right? This is essentially just something that's already existed in the game for a long time as...
Once per turn, effectively.
Yeah, once per turn, effectively.
Now, some things do have a do this to the ally thing. And then if you look in the true text of the cards, because they are on the card database on the mothership, it does have a T representing that symbol, which makes me think either turn or tap.
Yeah.
So either way.
Yeah, they could just go with turn too, right?
Sure.
Like
twist, turn, tilt. This one is destroy a gold token you control, draw a card, then discard a card. If a blue card has been put into your graveyard this turn, you may play cards with Watery Grave from your graveyard. Watery Grave is a Magic reference. For those of you that don't know, it's one of the Ravnica Shocklands. But Watery Grave is when this is put into your graveyard from the arena, turn it face down. So the trick here is you would put it, you discard it to Gravy Bones off of his ability, and then would play it from the graveyard, effectively. That's where we're going with this. There are allies. We talked about Chum, the friendly first mate, who he's a 4-cost, 4 power, 6 toughness, so pretty strong ally that is has the rotate, tap, whatever turn to attack as an action, now with no go again, mind you. And then as an instant, you can tap him to discard a card with Watery Grave. Until end of turn, opponents must choose this as the targets of attacks if able. So basically a lure ability. You see what I did there? We're still in it. Mm-hmm. We're luring. Okay.
Both a good like fishing reference and again a magic reference.
Correct. It is both. So we're gonna have allies. There will be definitely more than this.
Yeah, I mean, we've already seen at least one other.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just the one other. Sorry, that was official. Yeah.
Yeah, it's rigor mortis. I'll get to that, which is, again, we'll cover that here in a second.
Yep.
But the then the attacks, the pirate necromancer attacks all look like they interact with allies and tapping them for abilities. Like one gets overpower when you do it, one gets go again when you do it, one's a block card that gets +1, so it's a block 5.
I just want to say real quickly, I love this version of allies a ton.
I think it's really good. I think this allies as a resource I like.
Right. I was just going to say, it really makes you have to consider, because so far historically up until this point, it's like you either always just attack with whatever your biggest ally is, or you just attack with all of them all the time. Very rarely with, allies has the health mattered a ton, because they've also been tied to illusionists and thus phantasm. I'm not saying that it hasn't mattered. It definitely has mattered, but just it hasn't been like as central as it will be for this version, where there is no, popping knees or whatever. It's just straight up damage. So I love that they are an additional resource where you're still incentivized to play them, and then you can use them for your other abilities. And I like that they're going to create that tension for opponents of like, do I want to clear them? Even if they look benign, they can still turn on effects of like other attacks I don't want to see. I said before, right? The game itself is already tension incarnate. This is, I think, going to be a great class for showcasing that. But it's also, as much as I love all that, it also makes me kind of already hate Chum a little bit, because a lot of people have been posting memes about like, we have Arclight Sentinel at home and whatever. Listen, there is a world, depending on the class you play, first might actually be way worse than ALS for you.
Potentially.
ALS, like you could just like throw anything at it and it would pop. And now you've got to do 6 damage to it.
Now, granted, it doesn't turn off go again, so you would still have the ability to, get it off the field and continue your turn. But yeah, it's rough. Now we're going to briefly talk about rigor mortis, because
it's another fantastic name.
Because it's rigor, RIGGER, like the rigor on a ship.
Yeah, it's a ship rigor. And then mortis,
rigor mortis being the stiffening of joints,
but
like
also
you would have
like
if you were
mortis,
a corpse.
Mort essentially means death, right? So it's the undead or the dead rigor.
And he only has 1 health because he's so brittle and stiff that he couldn't move out of the way anyway, so he just has the 1 health. He'll just fall apart as soon as you hit him.
Yeah.
Checked all the boxes. But he is a 1 cost. Again, these allies don't have go again, and we'll cover why in just a second. But this is 1 cost that has the action on him is a resource and tap to attack. He's a 6/1 with Watery Grave. The offhand, we don't have the weapon, but the offhand for the Pirate Necromancer is Compass of Sunken Depths. Instant tap to look at the top card of your deck. The first card with Watery Grave you play from your graveyard each turn gets go again. So you get go again playing the allies with Watery Grave out of your graveyard. Looks elegant to me, like play-wise. So, yeah, I think I'm interested in this. I'm
very excited for the other part of Compass of Sunken Depths, because it just means that we're also going to be seeing more, like, potentially anyway, deck manipulation stuff. Like, obviously Gravy Bones has it built into his hero where you can do the draw a card, discard a card, but I just love that, like, once per turn you get to do the peak thing. It's not permanent like with Dash.io, but it's still really relevant to this hero. Yep.
You also have to, one call out here is that all of the heroes in this set that we've seen so far are pirates. And pirate is not a specialization. Pirate is a class. So eventually we will see just pirates. Correct. So, because they did call out, these are dual class heroes.
Correct.
So pirate will be eventually just a class in a set. We'll have to see what that looks like, but I think it will be in something that is somewhat supplemental the first time we see it. That will just kind of add cards to the pool. That'll be like the pirate generics effectively. Next on
this, we haven't seen any, but this will very likely also just have pirate generics in it. If I had
most
to
likely.
guess.
Sure. Next one is Marlin. Again, with the pun. The adult is Marlin Treasure Hunter. Again, a 440 hero. This one is the action is the tap again. Destroy a gold token, a gold you control, not a gold token, a gold you control. Create a goldfin harpoon in your hand. Go again whenever you draw a card during your action phase. You may put an arrow from your hand face up into your arsenal, which is fucking obnoxious with 3 of a kind.
Yep. It's kind of obnoxious with a number of things because there's going to be like premeditate, right? Well, I guess that's a ponder.
You can't, you can't put premeditate into that zone. It's only arrows.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking, what I was thinking was when you draw from the premeditate, but I was realizing the ponder is technically outside your action phase, right? So anything you draw off a ponder, you can still jam it in your arsenal. It just won't be like the face up in your arsenal, which does sometimes matter with Ranger stuff. That's why I was kind of excited, but there's still a ton of effects that let you draw cards, and this set is already very clearly centered around gold. So
pirates,
turns out that's a really easy way to just draw cards.
Yeah, so the Goldfin Harpoon is just a 0-for-2 Pirate Ranger arrow attack. It's funny because the card is yellow, but it specifically says on the card this card can't be pitched. If this would be put into a graveyard, instead remove it from the game. So it's just a 0-for-2 no-go again basic attack that goes into your hand. You cannot pitch. Doesn't have a block value. Yeah.
But the yellow part matters for things like library.
Right. But you can't play library and Ranger. But
no, but if somebody else plays a library and you are discarding yellow cards,
right, that would count for this.
Like that counts.
Yeah. So pretty, some pretty interesting little things there, all with existing cards already. They gave us 2 Majestics here. This is Darick's favorite card. I fucking guarantee it. It's King Shark Harpoon, which
I love a good like kaiju, and that's all I see with this. This is not like this King Shark is not an actual shark, right? Like that's why we can't see the rest of it.
Okay, yeah, let's start with big game trophy shot actually, because this is a 2-cost Pirate Ranger action. Your next arrow attack this turn gets +4. If it has Harpoon in its name, it gets when this hits a hero, create a gold token, draw a card, then discard a card. So you make the Harpoon off of Marlin. The King Shark Harpoon is a 2-for-6 arrow with a 3-block red pitch with the ability Go Fish, because why not? If you've played the game Go Fish, this may sound familiar. When this hits a hero, they choose and reveal a card from their hand. If it's an attack action card, they discard it and you create a gold token. If you've activated a cannon this turn, now motherfuckers, they're giving us cannons. Me gusta. I love a cannon.
I am almost wondering if cannons are going to be pirate
bows.
No, so because we also have a mechanologist in this, I think that it's going to be some kind of like item. And I'm wondering if it will be just a pirate item that both the ranger and the mechanologists use.
Yeah, if you've activated a cannon this turn, instead look at their hand and you choose the card. So flavorful, because if you fired the harpoon with enough force via cannon, you get the benefit of looking. You get the added targeting ability, so you get to look at their hand instead and choose the card. But even then, I mean, it's a good 2-for-6 as far as that goes.
I mean,
especially with Ranger stacking shit.
I'm just stuck on the art, man. Like
the art's incredible.
The definition of you're going to need a bigger boat.
Yeah.
Like this thing, Somebody called Jason Statham. We have found the Meg in
Megalodon
in the world of Wraith. Yeah, like this thing is nightmare fuel.
Oh, it's a monster. That's for sure.
It is like the gangbusters steroid cousin of the street sharks.
Oh yeah. Fuck yeah, street sharks. Fuck yeah, street sharks. If you don't know street sharks, get your shit together. Find some episodes on YouTube.
The kind of people who don't like street sharks are the same kind of people who don't like gravy bones. That's all I'm saying.
Wow. That's a lot.
I'm just saying they're objectively wrong. Because street sharks is awesome.
Oh, I get it. They are objectively wrong if they dislike street sharks. Like, that much is true. Oh, I guess we forgot the Pirate Necromancer, the Chart the High Seas, which is a 0 cost. Pirate Necromancer action, look at the top 2 cards of your deck. You may pitch a blue from among them, which is already interesting. Put the rest into your graveyard. Create a gold token for each yellow card put into your graveyard this way. So we are going to probably see some of those interactions that we talked about with Goldfin Harpoon in Ranger as well. That's Necromancer, but we'll probably see something similar in Ranger as well.
I mean, both of the allies that have been revealed so far are also yellow. It would not surprise me if all the allies are yellow.
Yeah.
And then this is just another way that you can, besides your hero power, obviously, that you can get your watery grave stuff in the grave. Because again, if it goes to the grave from the arena, then it goes face down, so you can't use it again, right? So you've got to come up with those creative ways to get it. What I find interesting about this is, I wonder if this was named something else at one time, and then, like, I wonder if this used to be like Tome of the High Seas, and then when they burned all the books, they changed it to a chart, because this feels like Imperial Tome to me, but for Pirate Necromancer.
I could see that.
Right? Like you're essentially playing your blue block 3, but you're more than likely going to still get your blue pitch from it, and then also maybe hopefully like create a gold and put the watery grave. Like your best case scenario here, because you're looking at the top 2, is you're going to look at them, you're going to pitch one of them being a blue, and then you're going to put the other one into your discard pile. Hopefully it's an ally, you make a gold, and then also then use what you just got from your blue pitch from this to then place that ally. So it's like it's like Imperial Tome to me, but
makes sense. The next one is Puffin Hightail, which is a pirate mechanologist parrot. The text on Puffin is action, tap symbol again. Destroy a gold you can control. Create a gold cog token. The second time you crank each turn, draw a card. So you'll notice this as I go again on the ability, because the golden cog tokens have crank. And this enters the arena with a steam counter. At the start of your turn, destroy this, and that's your remove a steam counter from it. So it doesn't actually do anything on its own outside of crank. That's it. It's just crank.
Well, it's used in other cards.
Correct.
Right? So what I think is neat about the Puffin interaction is, one, I love that you're literally like taking a gold coin and then like stamping it into a golden cog, right? Like you're just melting down the gold and making it into a cog. But there's a number of cards that are going to care about cogs. What's interesting to me though is specifically, and I know that we're going to talk about both of them. You'll notice one of the cards calls out golden cog specifically, and the other one calls out a cog you control.
Yep.
And so I think that we're maybe going to run into a world where we have all sorts of different cogs.
Yeah, let's start with the Sky Skimmer. That's the common. It's a 0 cost rainbow, so red, yellow, blue pitch. Block 3, so not for nothing. And then this alone has once per turn instant tap a cog you control. This gets +1 or go again. So it's a 0 for 4 go again if you have a cog in play. And for the red, or it's a 0 for 5. Or a 0 for 4 yellow, or a 0 for 2, or a 0 for 3 blue. So already pretty good use of a cog. And then we have the Golden Sky Warden. Now, this is just poetry. The art is so fucking incredible because it reminds me of Karn a little bit from Magic, the way that it's drawn. But I'm hoping that we get this Golden Sky Warden, but I really want a War Golem. Like, I need a War Golem in my life.
I really hope that even though we have golden cogs and we have Puffin with the mechanical wing, I hope that we get a brass monkey.
Oh man, brass monkey would be so good.
Yeah, that funky monkey.
Oh man, I could take a hit of brass monkey. But so this is a pirate mechanologist action attack. It's a yellow pitch, block 2. Will be important if you do this. It is a 4 for 7. So, not great stats for a Majestic. It does have Galvanize. When this defends, you may destroy an item you control. If you do, this gets +1 defense. If a golden cog is destroyed this way, create a gold token and repeat this process. So if you have multiple cogs, you can cash them in for extra defense and gold tokens. That's pretty good. I mean, card draw is good. And Puffin's ability needs gold.
What's neat about something like this as well, when you're thinking about potential play patterns just from the very few cards we've seen, you might have a turn where, you start your turn with a gold, you destroy your gold to make the golden cog, you crank the cog, you play something like Sky Skimmer where it's got your once per turn, you exhaust, tap, whatever you want to call it, a cog you control to give it its bonus, right? So like you started with a gold, you created your cog, and then you used your cog, right? The cool thing about Golden Sky Warden is, unlike cards like Sky Skimmer, this doesn't require you to exhaust the cog. You're transforming it back essentially. So Golden Sky Warden also lets you kind of like get back your resources, right, that you already got your advantage from or used to save them for later. So it's a really neat like back and forth thing with this card to hopefully not let you fall so far behind.
Right. Yep. Additionally, with this set, we will have treasure packs, which are fucking crazy. I guess I don't have a really better way of describing these things. They're 1 per box. And let me get to my product page again, because they have a very wild little thing here. So
yeah, while you're getting the product page up, let me just say, more than ever, I wanted it in heavy hitters, but now I think with this set, the time has finally come. We better have some equivalent of a guild toss in this set. Like, if I can't throw money at a problem and make it go away, aka turn like gold into damage, like what am I even doing? Now it might have to like either be a legendary or something that's like not in normal slots, because the only problem I have is for limited experiences, I've seen the macro, and I think that if you could just throw money at your opponent and kill them, Treasure Island could like be a problem, because it looks like it's going to be making gold for both players pretty frequently. So that is the only downside, but I want to throw money at people.
Yeah. So treasure packs are a 90 card set, 11 marvels, 4 legendaries, 52 pirate booty, 14 commons, and 9 puzzle pieces. And then there are 43 lost treasures to discover. So those are in addition to the 90 cards. And then there are 17 unique lost treasures, which are one of ones. And then the lost treasures appear 1 per 1,000 treasure packs. So there's not a lot of those either. And then the treasure packs are 3 cards, 1 gold slot, 1 map slot, and 1 treasure slot, which will be a cold foil or a lost treasure. I don't think they're going to have issues selling boxes of this set.
Which is good news, because they've been having so much
many
trouble.
issues. Yeah, selling product.
Yeah.
Hasn't been moving very hard. Right?
Some might say that, because of these treasure packs, this set might be quite the gravy train for LSS.
There's also Armory Deck Gravy Bones, which will be coming on May 30th. So that'll be available on pre-release weekend. So yeah, that's the set is 6 legendaries and 1 fabled. So pretty basic there. There are 21 marvels. We already know basically what that some of them will be, because we've seen that there is there's a Marvel Marlin, there's a Marvel Heroes, there's a Marvel Gold token. I was going to say we have the gold token, essentially 6 heroes, because you have to assume young and old. I'm just gonna go out on a whim and say at least some of the allies. Like I would. Chum is we already know Chum's an ally. Yeah, the Chum is one of them. Which I love Chum, but so we definitely know that there are 21. We know 7, 8-ish for sure. The gold token, the full art gold token, I don't think is necessarily a Marvel, because the symbol looks different. That might be out of the
maybe
treasure
it's
packs.
One of the.
I think it's out of the treasure packs.
Yeah, one of the pirates booty things or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it be really cool if the mechanologist in this set got an ally? Like a TikTok the Croc that's like a clockwork crocodile.
I wonder where we've seen that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very original thought. You should be proud of yourself.
Listen. You don't make puns and pop culture references with originality.
That's true. That's very true. Last little bit here is there was a localization update. So basically they're going to discontinue printing German, Italian, and Spanish booster packs, mainly because they have seen that those areas prefer purchasing English boosters. So they'll be discontinuing those languages. However, we will be getting a calling in Italy and a calling in Germany. Now, we'll get to this down in the listener questions and talk about it in depth there. But that's a big fucking deal. So we're going to save that for the listener questions. But that is a holy shit moment. For those that don't know. So we'll preview a listener question that we'll be addressing, and we'll go in depth on that here momentarily. That being said, I think it's time for some listener questions. We got a few.
We do. We should do that.
First one is from Hammer Bro 82. Okay, I'll ask. Nuclear Gandhi? Now, in the game Civilization, you pick a leader, and then you basically are in a game of world conquest, for lack of a better. We are cutting a lot of corners by saying that. And all the leaders you pick from different areas and different eras have different, basically skills. They have levels on their skill. Gandhi is one of them. You can pick, I believe Stalin in the original game was one of them. You have Napoleon, Caesar.
I think America's was George Washington, right?
Yep. You have, so like on and on and on historical figures. So nuclear Gandhi is this. So in order for a country to start sending nukes flying, if they have the technology built up, their aggression has to hit maximum. Gandhi is a pacifist, so has 0 aggression. However, the way the game was designed is if you push Gandhi's pacifism below 0, it loops back to the top and makes for max aggression immediately. And then Gandhi starts throwing nukes everywhere. And that's where nuclear Gandhi comes from. Is you push something so far in one direction that it loops to being the other one. And it was always a hack to like, this game's not going my way. Fuck it. Push Gandhi, push Gandhi one level below, and then everybody gets nuked.
Oh, we were wrong. I had to double check because then I started second guessing myself. The American leader was actually Abe Lincoln in Civ 1.
Was it Lincoln in Civ 1?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, that's the premise of nuclear Gandhi. And fun as hell, by the way.
Yeah, because like usually because the ones that I remember, right, is like being the aggressors in the first Civ 1. Genghis Khan, I think, starts with the highest default, and Napoleon
Aggression.
might be like right behind him.
Alexander was pretty high too.
Alexander was pretty high, and Montezuma was pretty high because he was the Aztec one.
And they put
And then the rest were kind of like
they put Attila in 3, right?
Yeah, Attila wasn't in the first one because the first one still had, like, you were right, like Stalin's in the first one. I think Mao was in the first one.
Was he?
Yeah, hold on, let me just reopen what I just had.
I think Nobu was, but
all right, so here are all the leaders for Civ 1. Abe Lincoln, Alexander, Caesar, Elizabeth for the British, Frederick,
oh sure,
Genghis Khan, Hammurabi, Hammurabi, sorry, excuse
Hammurabi.
me. Hammurabi, yeah. The one that I could never say, like even as a kid, Ieyasu.
What?
Ieyasu. He's one of the African leaders.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure,
believe, but I can't remember for sure.
Let me click. Nope. The Japanese. It's Tokugawa, but it's
Is
his
it
last name.
Tokugawa? Okay.
Yeah, it's Tokugawa. And then Gandhi.
Mm-hmm.
Mao Zedong.
So Mao Zedong is in there. Okay.
Yep. Montezuma, Napoleon, Ramesses, Shaka.
Yeah.
Shaka was the
Shaka
African
was
one
the
I was
African
saying.
one.
Yep. And then Stalin.
Yep.
So
okay.
they're a really good mix. But yeah, like Gandhi was, at the lowest default setting.
Right. Because pacifism. So Civ 3, the leaders were, I want to make sure I get these right though. Blah, 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 blah. This is great radio, but, several ways to win the game, reviews and awards, expansions. It actually doesn't say on the wiki, so I guess I have to Google it. Civ 3 leaders. There we go. They are Abu Bakr, Alexander, Bismarck, Brennus, Caesar, Catherine, Charles V, Cleopatra, Elizabeth, Gandhi, Gilgamesh. There we go. Hammurabi, Hannibal, Henry, Hiawatha, Isabella, Joan of Arc, Lincoln, Mao, Montezuma, Marcellus, Osman, Pachacuti, Ragnar, yeah, Shaka, Smoke Jaguar, Temujin, Theodora, Tokugawa, Wangkong, William, and Xerxes. So not Attila.
Also learning a bunch of new stuff. Apparently, this is a hotly debated topic because
Attila was Civ 5.
I guess Sid Meier categorically denied the bug ever existed in his autobiography, and that it was supposed to be like a viral hoax thing. But then, whether they were referencing the hoax or not, it was added starting in Civ 5.
Civ 5.
For sure, with the Gandhi thing. But there's a lot of folks that are like, I
did that.
remember it, and then other people that were like, I don't. And so somebody said that this is the Berenstein Bears of the Civilization games,
which is very funny that there's a Mandela effect for nuclear Gandhi.
Yeah. So who knows? I distinctly remember playing. I was actually, I couldn't afford a PC at the time because grew up really poor. So I was at my friend Matt's house. He was my first friend who had like PC games. And I remember playing Civilization and getting bombed by Gandhi. So I will say this, if it wasn't a bug, you could still definitely get bombed by Gandhi. And I think that that was probably the cause of the sentiment. But it is funny that Sid Meier, I guess, very explicitly in his autobiography has said that it was not real. But also... I've been bombed by Gandhi.
I've been bombed by Gandhi. Next question is from El Dorte. Logan, when do I pick you up from Zurich Airport after Pro Tour London? I don't think I'm making it to Zurich, but I guess never say never. But if I do end up flying to Zurich, I'll definitely let you know. Next one is from Vintox18. Why does LSS refuse to support non-bow ranger? There isn't one? I don't...
That's what they're saying. They're saying, I wish LSS would give us a ranger that was not bow focused. Why does LSS not support non-bow ranger is what they're saying.
Because then what would you do with all the ranger cards that specifically call out arrows? Like, okay. I think you want a different class.
Yeah, it's like a non-weapon for focused warrior, right? Like you're just playing another class.
Just right. I think you want another class. Yeah. Next one's from Fallen. If you worked for LSS and had to name the new pirate heroes, what would your names be?
Gravy Bones?
Yep. Think we might have covered that.
Gravy Bones the second, Gravy Bones Jr., Gravy Bones the third.
Okay. I don't know what I would name the ranger. I'm gonna just let Gravy Bones ride because I don't feel like it's productive to have a non. I feel like a Gravy Bones, a critical Gravy Bones discussion with you is not possible.
You can have one with me.
I don't think I can.
You can.
I'm pretty sure I can't, because you'll just end it and go, well, that's because you're wrong. And that will literally be the end of the conversation.
It would only be the end if you believe you're wrong. If you go through if you go through your argument and I say, but you're wrong, and then you can't follow that up, that sounds like a you problem. That just...
I don't know.
There are other things that you could pick as a name. It's just like Gravy Bones is just fantastic in my mind. But like I would be open to, like, we're gonna have other necromancers and other pirates and maybe even other pirate necromancers. So if there's other names besides Gravy Bones, I'm all ears.
Yeah, what do people want? Fucking Barnacle Todd? Like, that's worse. Barnacle Todd is worth... Nobody wants to be playing with Barnacle Todd.
Yeah. And again, like, if you're sitting there and you're like, you know, well, want my serious pirates, it's like who? Like Bootstrap Bill? Jack Sparrow? Like
Captain Jack Sparrow.
Sure.
You know, I don't know, Mr. Smee? What do you want? I don't know. Like, I think I'm locked in on Gravy Bones. I'm not even going to try on that one. Marlin is also just really good.
Marlin is good. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that, and who knows, maybe we will have one, but it'll be an ally or something. But I'm surprised we haven't seen like a patch or a patches joke yet with, you know, the eye patch thing.
Sure. For the mechanologist, though, that's a harder one. It's, you almost want like something stupid, you know, like Misfire or something. But
I mean, Misfire is a great name.
Or what's something else that you could throw in there? Wake
you could
Runner,
have
Wake Run or something.
You could have Captain Cork.
Captain Cork.
Yeah,
sure.
And his first mate Sprocket.
Sprocket. Yep. You could do that. I don't want to, but you can do that. We're moving on. Next one's from Papa Jackal. Congratulations to our buddy, the Jackal, who had a beautiful baby daughter recently. Congrats on never sleeping again. I'm so sorry and so happy.
No, they will. I'm gonna challenge this. I bet they're gonna sleep like a baby.
Which is not at all.
Right.
Right.
Like, that's the problem.
People say sleep like a baby.
Sleeping like a baby.
Anybody that says that is like, motherfucker, you never had a baby before.
Yeah, you mean waking up every 2 hours screaming?
Right.
Then yes, I sleep like a baby.
Yeah, pretty much. The Jackal asks, with how pushed the newer stuff like Assassin ended up being, do you think the same thing will happen with the Necromancer class and or Pirate talent? One, Pirate not a talent. It is a class, and two, I think that they will push some of the Pirate, some of the Necromancer stuff out of the gate, mainly because they want this to be playable. They did definitely dipped a toe with Assassin, but they really didn't have a good avenue at the time to make Assassin good immediately. And so Assassin suffered for a very long time before Assassin became good.
I was about to say I was gonna challenge this narrative because this is recency bias and coupled with like a little bit of revisionist history, because when Assassin debuted, like Pirate is currently debuting and like Necromancer is currently debuting, it was a lone class in a supplemental set, and it did not do well right out of the gate. And in fact, that particular hero is still struggling, despite me still falling in love with playing that hero. It's still, not a prominent piece of the metagame. Then after that happened, we had a set that featured it as a class, and while it got some incredibly powerful cards in that set, like Codex of Frailty, it still wasn't even the most powerful class to come out of that. Like Ranger, I think, was very clearly the big winner of Outsiders at the time. So it took until the third like real Assassin set before we got something on the power level of new, which is where people really started to say like, oh, this is pushed. But that is also in part because everything in Mistvale was pushed. And then we got, the Oops All Arachnes. So like, yes, if you're just coming from like a recent point in time where it feels like, hey, Assassin's like been really pushed, you have to understand like that's because it was also just featured in like the last two sets.
It took 2 years.
I mean, not last two. Rosetta was in between, but very frequently featured in the last, year and a half. But prior to that, like you could play the class, and we saw Uzuri do so, well in some events and etc. But it was not what anyone would describe as pushed.
No. Nope. But again, I think with the ability to play, with an armory deck for Necromancer coming immediately, right? I think that we'll see it be competitive at the very least. It might feel a little pushed at first, but a lot of times some of that newness ends up being, people don't understand how to play against it as soon as they do. It's like, oh, okay. Like we now know that gravekeeping is gas, right? Like you want to punish, a Necromancer that's filling the graveyard with allies, just fucking delete them with gravekeeping. Who gives a shit?
You know what? I'm kind of hoping with all of these like, new Rangers with draw a card and discard a card and watery grave this and whatever. I'm sincerely kind of hoping that this might be enough if they become popular to actually make Arachne Huntsman super relevant again.
Because the banishes.
Because the banish is potentially hitting that stuff, but also if you're filtering through your deck and I'm also banishing your deck, the fatigue game plan suddenly speeds up pretty drastically.
Yeah, it does. I agree.
So I hold out hope.
Yeah. Next one's from Ravenger King. LSS recently got approval from Germany to host events in their country by proving the game is more skill-based than luck-based. How much of an impact do you think this will have for bringing other players from different games to the community? Also, in what ways do you think this may affect other TCG companies in the competitive scene? Okay, let's fucking go. Now, about 20-some years ago now, the Gaming Authority in Germany decided that TCGs could not hold cash events in their country because the games were more luck-based than skill-based, and that equated to gambling. So, there was one if I got it again, this may be slightly apocryphal because it was a long time ago, like we're talking 25 years, but I remember a Magic Grand Prix where they had to change the pricing kind of last minute and start giving people like anything they could buy at a Best Buy or something as prizes instead of cash. So like cash equivalents, right? It's like, here's a PlayStation or here's a toaster or whatever the fuck it was. And so people are just like, how the hell am I going to get this home in my luggage that I didn't check? You know, like you're, and then I have to pay like customs on this shit too and everything else. It was a major thing. And then cash tournaments for TCGs just didn't happen in Germany. And that's been that way for, like I said, 20 plus years. Now, the announcement that that was on the mothership, and I'm going to go and grab it again because it is very, very detailed in exactly what it says. It says, bringing the calling to Germany marks a significant milestone for the TCG industry. Germany's strict gambling laws regulate cash prizing for games of chance, and we are proud that Flesh and Blood has been officially recognized by German authorities as a game of skill. This recognition follows rigorous statistical modeling over a year of engagement with authorities and a significant investment in the process. It was challenging, but we pursued it because we are committed to supporting the German and wider European Flesh and Blood communities regardless of language preference. Now, Magic has been trying for that designation for 20 fucking years. And Flesh and Blood pulled it off. That's impressive. Because there just hasn't been a cash TCG tournament that I can think of in Germany since then. Since, Magic's last one.
It speaks to the benefit of paying attention to your competitive scene.
Absolutely.
Tracking the results. All the stuff that they've been monitoring with Gem, it's very clear that they're taking that data very seriously internally, just for balance and design reasons, but also just having that as one of the ways that you can actually present this argument, right? So
it's huge. And when you're talking about players from other communities, especially people who remember the fact that in Germany and who remember that that Magic has not been able to really do the thing in Germany for ever, really. It's a giant milestone, and it speaks volumes to the people who want a skill-based competitive game. It really just gives Flesh and Blood another level of credential, of credibility in the space for exactly what it is, which is the highest the most skill-intensive TCG on the market, so much so that they are able to prove to the German authorities that it was a game of skill and therefore is now cleared to hold events in a country that historically has not allowed them. I honestly, this was not on my radar, ever, being a thing. And the fact that they not only pulled it off, but took the time to pull it off. That this had to be a very focused approach with very clear metrics to tell exactly the story they wanted to tell, and all in the service of a specific community of people. That type of dedication to community building and growth is exactly why I love Flesh and Blood. It's part and parcel with everything I say about this game. And I mean when I talk about Flesh and Blood, I mean like the umbrella. I mean LSS and the umbrella. Because that is saying, hey, we care. We want these events here. They could have gone the rest of their existence without ever having a single event in Germany, and they would have been fine. It's been every other game that has done well, that is still exists, that's still alive, has done that. And the fact that they were able to pull it off not only shows their dedication to community, but also tells the rest of the TCG industry, hey, this is our lane. If you want to join us, we have shown what the bar is for acceptance over here. So make a choice. I think it's incredible.
Also, it does so much, like, you know, you're talking about servicing the community, but like the reality is when you consider the gateways that it opens for the kinds of events that they probably want to run, you know, in Germany, right? We've already had some really cool international events. I say
Absolutely.
International as an American, obviously.
Well,
but like just some really cool events, and now that opens up a lot of really cool potential cities for landing spots, but also you know, Germany is very well connected to other parts of Europe. So when you're just talking about not just the German community, though it's massive for them, just like that kind of European spot as a whole, because there are so many places, like it's so easy to just take a train there, right? So,
and Germany is very centralized.
Yes, I was just getting ready to say it is kind of what now America's a little bit different because the place is huge and we're not built for like actual public transportation.
No shit.
But Germany is kind of like what Denver is in the US. So if you're not familiar from here, Denver is like the central flight hub of the US. It's very common for any flight, if there is any sort of layover, to like go through Denver. That's kind of Germany, right? So this is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it's huge. And honestly, again, I'm very excited that this happened. And I think the impact for bringing players over will be big, especially in Europe. And I also think there will be a little bit of an ancillary, you know, head turn of, wait a second, that game can hold events in Germany? Maybe I want to try that out because, you know, Magic's competitive scene is not as robust. Yes, they have these big, shiny events that happen once in every now and again, whereas you have Flesh and Blood having callings, you know, at least twice a month, it seems. And, you know, there being two global pro tours and a world championship alongside, you know, X number of countries that have national championships. Like, that's the thing. And I think people that haven't been paying attention may look over and see that that's the structure and just be like, oh, I like that.
Especially some of the people that were perhaps, you know, naysayers or entrenched players or whatever, you know, the crowd that might have said like, hey, you know, it's a dead game. Hey, it's a cash grab. Hey, you know, it's a scam. Like I heard a lot of things in the early days of Flesh and Blood from players that like I genuinely respect. And I was like, all right, well, like the game is really cool. So if you ever want to hear about it, just let me know. And I think that if there's anything that speaks to like, hey, this is at its core a game first, and that's what drew me in. The game and the mechanics are so well thought out and designed. Having it recognized for something like this is a pretty big deal. And it's a big deal because, as you said, it's a space that not a lot of other you know, companies have even tried to do it because, you know, of the thoroughness required. And it's, you know, a country that's known for its thoroughness, right? This isn't like a, it's not a country or a regime where you could, bribe or get your way. Like, you got to prove it with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they did it. So my hat's off.
Yeah, it's remarkable. And I don't know if I have a better way of describing it. Like, I don't know. Last questions from the One Hit Wookie. Do you think Flesh and Blood is still a pick your class game? It feels to me that it has evolved. Class loyalty isn't what it used to be. It feels like more like generics will carry over, but not much else. I can't see an Azalea or Riptide deck being too similar to a Marlin deck, other than Codex and the odd buff and all with very different play styles. Obviously, I made major assumptions based on card reveals. I am the wrong fucking person for this question. What's loyalty? Like, what's pick a class? I mean, kind of just play whatever, right? And I get that the building of class loyalty, I think, has evolved, because class loyalty definitely is a part of the game. But I think that it started to evolve into hero loyalty, not necessarily class loyalty. But that evolution to me started a long time ago, probably in Monarch.
Yeah.
And maybe Arya.
I think that the reason you hear about class loyalty. All right. So whenever you see new player advice given out on forums or Reddit or wherever, and when I say you see, I guess I mean I see, because
I don't go on fucking Reddit.
One of the very common phrases that is repeated is that you marry the class and you date the hero, meaning that, like, you can't become attached to a hero because it might living legend or metas change or whatever. But if you find a class that you like, it's probably a similar enough play style that you can bounce around in it. Now, I don't think that you feel this way, in part because of some of the warriors are just not as
Bad.
good, AK or just not Kasai.
There's the one.
Yeah. So I can say, like, from an assassin person, for the most part, I feel like assassin still fits that mold. I say for the most part because Arachne Huntsman it's kind of its own thing. It was the first assassin. It was contract based. It's very clear that future assassin design is, going forward on stealth. Arachne will kind of be like that, time capsule, whatever. I still really enjoy the play style. And I will continue to break Arachne out as I can, but for the most part, from Uzuri on, it has still been a stealth-oriented class with different flavors. And so there is a fair amount of carryover within those cards, right? Like Uzuri, Marionette, New, they all can benefit from playing Bonds. They all can benefit from playing, Kiss of Death. They all can benefit from playing a number of things, but no classes should be like a large part of your deck carries over, if I'm being honest. Or I guess I should say this is my opinion, but it's my honest opinion, because you still need the heroes to have their own identity. Like, classes should be similar, but you still want the heroes to feel unique. You don't want to feel like there's no reason for me to not like care which assassin or which ranger or which whatever I play. Because they all should have their own identity as well. And so you have to have enough to differentiate. And then when you're looking at what goes into a deck when you're building it, right? You're gonna have some generic cards, right? So let's just say if you include 4 generic cards at 3 ofs, right? That's already 12 of your 80. And then let's just say that you've got, 8 cards that carry over from class to class. At 3 ofs, that's 24, and then the rest should probably be something more specific to your class, because then you're looking at, that's still just like slightly more than half of your total 80 in the list. And that's not even like counting the equipment and whatever. But that's like enough that, half of each of your turns should be dictated by things that feel unique to that hero, and the other half should be like generics or class oriented or whatever. And I think that's, again, these are rough numbers. It's not like it's something else that's said. I'm just saying, like, that's where I would envision it. I don't think that everything needs to carry over, because again, you want your heroes to feel different, and you want it to feel different consistently. So that's the other part. You could just have a hero that plays most of the same cards, and then maybe they have like a couple of specializations they play, but like I would argue, for example, that is currently Betsy's biggest problem. You could make the arguments about power level, whatever, but the reality is right now, there's not a ton of the wager mechanic itself that feels good with her. So when you try to play Betsy, you end up playing a ton of Guardian cards that are just Guardian cards. And then when you get to the end, you're like, okay, why am I playing Betsy over, say, like a Bravo or whatever? And her whole gimmick is wager. And so you want more wager cards, right?
And the log.
And the log. We still need the log. So I do think that for the most part, it really feels like it has been for a bit you marry the class, but you date the hero. But that just because you marry the class doesn't mean that you're going to play every hero from that class. And it certainly doesn't mean that every card is going to carry over and whatever. Every hero still needs to feel unique in their own way, and it should feel consistently unique. So, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I mean, again, I'm very bad at identifying with that, mainly because the one hero that I really gravitate towards in general, one is bad right now. Yeah. And I don't know if bad's the wrong word. Like, there are matchups that she just fucking has a really hard time winning, and they exist.
Could end up being pretty decent into allies.
Right. That has caught my attention. Because I can make some gold off those bitches, and at that point in time, I can hire an army.
Right. Then you can have allies.
Then I have allies.
How the allies have turned.
Mm-hmm. But you know, in general, what you're saying makes sense. Like, I get it. And I also get that, yes, we have talked about this. This game can be / is expensive. And so having everything to outfit multiple classes is difficult to do. I have a lot of it, especially from the earlier sets, because I collected all of them. And so that's helpful, right? And then I kind of have been in a pick and choose mode for a couple of years now, to the point that like people are like, hey, look, all these mechanologist cards spiked. And I'm like, good, I can now sell them because I don't really have any desire to play any mechanologist hero. I love parrots. Don't get me wrong. Used to have one. Blue fronted Amazon. He's a giant asshole. But, yeah, I mean, quite honestly, I get rid of those cards. I don't need them. I won't need them. So sure, ship them. MasterCog's like $90 now.
Really?
Yeah, it's nuts. Like,
I mean, it is a cog.
It does say cog in it. Live.
I don't think it works that way, but
well, it cranks though, right? So it gives you ways to keep shit around. Yeah, $89 for a rainbow foil MasterCog is the cheapest one. So $90 is as cheap as you're going to get them right now, which is crazy because you could have got them at 30.
Wow, cold foil ones are almost $200. Maybe I should move mine.
Yeah, because if you look on a 1 month target cycle, we could have had one for 40. So I don't even want to look at New Horizons, but I'm going to. I mean, I own one, so it's whatever. Oof. Charmer, what do you think it is? Rainbow foil.
Rainbow foil, 187.
170. And then 180 for cold. So obviously we just buy a cold foil. And then time for 3 of a kind. How much are 3 oaks? $12. Yep, they're up. What is, well, I guess Remorseless and shit like that is probably up there too. Might as well, right? Remorselesses are 19 now. Get Crucibled. And then Premeditate is the other one, right?
Yeah, that
32.
one. Yeah, I was gonna say that one I expect to be.
Yeah,
But that one's gas.
that one's real gas. And it's outsiders and hard to find, and start checking boxes, like, sure. Well, we're an hour and 45 minutes in, so I think it's time to thank some patrons. What do you say?
Yeah, I think that's
All right,
a good idea.
Good. Our associate producers, we have Aladors, Andy, Cinderra, Jacob, the Goat Warrior Cultist, Salty Sea Cat, and Zaris. For our executive producers on up, we have Blaze Storm, value member of the Patreon, Diana. Now, Diana fucked somebody up pretty bad, and there is video proof of this shit. Because she's playing in an LL skirmish, and another listener took a picture of the board state where she had 101 rune chants ready to fire off as Florian to nuke Starvo's face off. Well played. Yeah. That's good work. I'm proud of you. Lance Good Thrust. Larry, Micaiah, Poxanas, Vintox, Forgettable Patron. Oh, okay. Stoop Kid, Philip. And then we enter the chamber. Brandon, getting close. Matt, our first of the Chamber of Charcoal. Papa Jackal, whenever you want, buddy. You just got to say the word, and we'll get you on the schedule. Oren and Polish Guy Rich are slotted in right now. If you want to join, be a member of our Patreon, you just go to patreon.com/fleshandpod. Link is in the show notes. There are 6 tiers. That final tier that we're talking about, Charter's Chamber of Charcoal. If you do subscribe to that for 3 months consecutively, you can guest host the show with us. Matt did it and was a great time. Brought the Rune Babe Anna on with him, and yeah, we'll let that happen too. If you want to bring a friend, sure. Don't care. Just do it. Whatever makes you feel good. Just always beware that if you say something out of pocket, it stays in the show. That's it. Only rule. And that may include us blasting you if you say something super out of pocket.
Yeah, like if you just hypothetically were to say something negative about the name Gravy Bones.
I have no choice but to sit back and let it happen. I'm contractually obligated to allow Charmer his pound of flesh at that point. I can't do anything for you. I'm sorry, my hands are tied. If you need to reach us, you can always email us at fleshandpod@gmail.com. You can find us on BlueSky. Just search FleshandPod. Easiest thing, join the Discord. Links in the show notes. There are, I don't know, some number of people in there all talking shit at the same time. It's a lot of fun, actually. Just if you are looking for a good time, do not opt into the Kicker Guards Corner channel. Ignore that one. Everything else should be good to go. I have some muted channels in there. Mostly Charmer's Chuckles, I believe is the Dad Jokes and Puns channel.
Oh yeah, I gotta fire some stuff off in there. Here soon.
That is turned off for me. I did unmute the Pickle Posse and left it unmuted, but mainly because
Elaine, if you're listening,
there's some
I just
good
need to tell you, the dill pickle Pringles that we purchased because of you, essentially,
they didn't make
consumed Sophie. Like, I am not kidding. She is probably
she's a fucking fiend.
I don't know if I should say how many cans of it she's eaten, but I will just say that we have on more than one occasion since picking them up for the first time made trips to the store solely because she was out of the Pringles dill pickle chips. Like, it has become her obsession. So yeah, you're in our thoughts every time.
Yeah, we have merch. I thought the merch link was actually in the show notes, and apparently I have been not putting it in the show notes. So I'm an idiot, apparently. 'Shocking. So it should be there now if you made it all the way through the show. And
if there's one thing that we're good at, it's definitely promoting ourselves.
Oh my God, I am the fucking worst. I'm also working on, I shouldn't, it's like a horror movie. If characters start making plans for the future, one of them or both of them are going to die. And so I'm sitting here like thinking about what we can do for episode 200. And then the realization hits me, oh, that means one of us is going to die before then, though.
Yeah.
I don't want Charmer to be that happy. So...
You never let me do anything.
That's true. I don't. But yeah, so I think there's some couple of things that sound like fun that I definitely want to do. Expect a lot of charitable things, like, you know, a lot of auctioning and things like that, of really interesting and cool stuff that we have people working on. And yeah, so expect a lot of that type of stuff, and probably guests and a lot of other things. But I'm working on it. I'm hoping to have something concrete settled before it happens, and have the guests that we want and have a good time with it. So Greg is already sweating over a lot of what I told him I want to do. And he's like, are you fucking kidding? Do you know how hard that'll be to edit? And I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm sure it will be.
No, we don't.
I do most of the editing. Greg only when we record on Sundays, which kind of rarely. But yeah, so Charmer, where can they find you? I guess that's the long way of going to that.
You can probably find me at my local grocery store buying dill pickle Pringles. Hashtag no free eggs.
Are you in a Kroger place? Is that?
So where I live, the closest place is, like, physically to me, is Kroger, but I try to avoid them. The next closest, like, larger place to shop anyway is Meijer.
Oh, which is still Kroger, isn't it?
No, they're owned by a local family here in Michigan who are also something you would like to avoid.
Oh.
But so there we have them, and then about 20 minutes away in either direction we have Walmart's, but we do the most of our shopping, if we can, at there's a couple of Aldis that are within driving distance of us, so we'll do Aldi, and then there's also a couple of like cute Asian markets that are near us.
There we go.
And so we'll hit up them for a bunch of the stuff that, like, we can't get at Aldi.
But
they also have
chips.
just like really good fresh stuff at those typically. So
yeah, they do.
Yeah,
Pickle chips is definitely not an Aldi or Asian market thing.
No. So for that, it's usually Meijer. Typically, like, when we do get gas, the only times that we ever shop at Meijer or Kroger is if it's for stuff that we can't get anywhere else, and then both of them have like their weird loyalty programs, and so we just try to wait till we've stored up enough stuff to get the like money off of gasoline or whatever, and then we'll just make a run when we get gas. But
all right,
Aldi is the primary source most of the time.
I have 2 grocery stores within 6 blocks of me. So I have an Aldi, and then we have Hy-Vee's here, which are Iowa-owned company, Iowa-based company. They're decent. I mean, they're a corporation, but they're not the pure devil. I guess that's our show for this week. So yeah, thank you everybody for listening and putting up with our bullshit. And yeah, I guess we'll talk to y'all next week for 174. I'll be fresh off of Milwaukee, and then the week after that, and then we'll be back. Well, to be home, and then London. So shit, that's all coming up real soon. But all right, well, thanks everybody for listening, and we'll talk to you next week, I guess. Fuck it. Bye.